Well, we talked about Chelsea and the effect of the defeat by Arsenal on them, but what about the effect it has on Unai Emery's side? He was the manager under pressure going into this game, the one that people were looking at saying, do his tactics really work? Is he handling the Ozil situation well? They get a good win against Chelsea. Is everything now back on track?
I wouldn't say back on track. I mean, this is Arsenal. 1 minute they could be great, and the next minute, in the next game, they could end up getting beat to a team in the bottom half of the table. I like the manager. I do like the manager. I think, you know, Arsenal was blessed with, when he first come in, he had an unbelievable back four and an unbelievable goalie. This man hasn't got that. He's got great attacking players, hasn't got defenders. And I mean, a lot of them are not good enough. They're not. They played well the other day. And the Ozil one, Ozil's not his player, so he can play as Joker. You know, he can say, I'm leaving you out, and he could become the... You know, and people will go, he ain't messing about, he means business. The problem is when he does bring in a big game player and they're not performing, then when will he be able to leave that player out? This is easy with Ozil because it's not his player.
Are there similarities between Sarri and Emery in that they've both come in at the start of the season, they've tried to put their own stamp on the teams, and that will necessarily lead to a bit of inconsistency?
Yeah, at times, of course. I think the structure at Chelsea was a lot stronger than Arsenal. Obviously, the history that Arsene Wenger left there and created a philosophy and style that they were used to. But overall, I think he's done well. Have they excelled? Not as much as they would have liked, but they do need players. I think up front and going forward, they're exciting. Lacazette and Aubameyang, I wouldn't want to play against them. But at the back, they would need some more kind of quality. I think Koscielny's still probably their most consistent and best performer, and obviously he's no spring chicken at the moment, so they will need to invest in defensive acquisitions. It
looks as though that's what they're going to have to do. Obviously, in this transfer window, it's only loan signings as far as Emery has told us. Is it difficult, though, to come into a club? It hasn't got your own players. It's not a system that you know, and you say, right, I want to do things differently. Can you do that straight away?
It'd be interesting what he was told when he came into the club, where he must have felt there would be money to spend. I would suggest he's been taken by surprise to realise that in his first window there's only going to be loan signings to the football club when they're desperate for defenders. That seems to be the case.
Is it comparable with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, who didn't spend in his first transfer window? If he feels he's got time there, or if the board feel they're going to give him time there,
and I'm sure,
does that make a difference?
I'm sure Arsenal were going to give him time as well. Yeah, they're used to that. They don't like sacking managers. We saw that with the previous one. I mean, it did drag on a wee bit, but I think that they've made the right decision. The guy is good. They had an unbelievable unbeaten run, 21 games, whatever it was, which is fantastic. I mean, he's turned it on in 2 London derbies against Arsenal, against Chelsea. It was fantastic at the weekend. They were poor against West Ham, and that's another London derby, so something went wrong there. For them to be challenging right at the top of the league and for real contenders for top 4, I think they need to get some consistency in there. They're going to need players, of course they are. I think he needs to get Ozil back on side. I know a lot of people will give him credit for leaving him out and because he's not doing it on the pitch, and it looks good in the dressing room to the other players. It doesn't look good to the boardroom. The boardroom are going to be saying, we're paying him 300 grand a week or £350,000 a week, whatever it is. You need to get something out of him because it's going to be very difficult to get rid of him. Because no one's going to want to pay that wages. What they're going to end up doing is loaning him somewhere and contributing £200,000 to his wages, which is not very good business. But we know over the last 10 years or so, Arsenal haven't been very good with business, have they? You know, it hasn't been great. Now, the only way he's going to get away with that sort of behaviour towards his top player, who's on the biggest wages, is to get results like he did at the weekend. Otherwise, the board members and the people who are instructing there, the sporting director who's left today, also, you know, he looks like he's come to the football club. He's only lasted 18 months, whatever it was. He come with a big reputation, Mislintat.
How important is that relationship between manager or head coach and head of recruitment now?
Oh, it doesn't seem to be a match made in heaven, does it? At Arsenal, it looks like they're going to be on the change, and they're going to change the system and the way they want to work. They're probably going to bring another one in because that's the model they want, but it's not going to be this man. So he's going to go to pastures new, and Emery's going to probably get his man in there who's going to identify the players what he wants. He obviously is not happy with the ones what the previous, or the guy who's leaving in February, Sven Mislintat, has brought in. So they're going to have to try and change that structure. Well, not change it, but they're going to have to bring someone in different who suits Emery's style.
Well, we talk about the importance of having stability at board level. Arsenal were in a position where there was lots of dissension at board level. It seemed as though with Sanlé and Mislintat that they had two people in place who were working the transfers relatively calmly and with a long-term view. How much is the departure, or will the departure of Mislintat affect that, do you think?
It all depends, as Tim says, if the manager can get his own man in, I think it helps. I think it's so important. If you've got a director of football and a manager, they have to be near as good as friends, really. You know, and then they're in and they understand. They both have the same ideas about the game. It's no point one having one idea and the other one having the other. I don't think the signings have been great that have come in. I really don't. And I think if he can get his own man in, he'll be comfortable with him going, right, go and watch him play. And he'll give him an honest opinion instead of going to this man, or I don't know how it's worked, and he's gone, go and watch him, and he's probably gone, no, I don't fancy him, I'm not watching him. And it doesn't work. So that might be good for the long run.
Managers don't watch players anymore. They don't go out. You hardly ever see them out watching players in the Premier League anymore. It doesn't happen. I mean, some youth managers don't even watch the youth team play.
You're talking about Per Mertesacker going to watch the NBA game when they had that FA Youth Cup match.
The thing is, nowadays, a long time ago, managers lived by their signings. If you bought someone years ago and they didn't perform, you were out. You were getting a sack. That doesn't happen now. No. You can buy players now and they could be flop here, flop there, and that won't matter as long as you're getting results. But years ago, managers would bring in a player and if he didn't perform, they were getting a sack.